I just want to kick a little recent U.S. history because it seems like we don't really know who we are or what we are and where we came from. It seems like a lot of times history class ends or, never really gets too far past the Civil War even. And, if you just look at 1945 to now, 1945, World War II ends. Stalin is a bad, bad man, a ruthless man. So President Harry Truman pretty much decides he needs to go all in with ruthlessness and an intelligence agency that's going to do the dirty work for America. And when Stalin dies in 1953, we already have our foot fully on the gas. There's not really mechanisms in place for a break. And President Eisenhower certainly came to realize that he didn't really have potentiality to drop any common sense into the game. The president couldn't get it done. So, when you're looking at the Cold War, which is really a very hot world war if you're one of the weaker people on Earth, if you're in Southeast Asia or you're in Africa or Central South America, the game is pretty much played everywhere. It's played economically in the West, but so yeah, the idea that what we are centrally about is democracy and freedom. The Cold War, our history since 1945 really says that's not the case. Because if you're dead, you can't be promoting democracy from a grave. So we focused on kicking ass and staying alive because really that's how a lot of human history works. The weak don't get to be the global superpower if you're not willing to kick a little ass to get there. So if you're going to sell weapons to one dictator to get cash to fund another dictator that's friendly to you, that's how the game is played. If it's going to get played by assassinations, we did that shit. And if you want to talk bombing, that's where it gets pretty damn interesting. It's, if this stuff wasn't released documents, public documents, it's really unbelievable. Take an example like what we did in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, and our complete destruction of these places from the air with things like napalm, which is just like the nastiest shit to burn kids or whatever. But that was the game. That was our game. Okay? Okay? So we just kind of have to get... It's been years, and I still can't believe that in the 80s when Iran and Iraq are going at it, and we're sending Rumsfeld over there or whoever, we're sending... This is public record, like Regal Report. We're sending chemical and biological weapons to Iraq because we don't want them to get overrun by Iran. We think we're, the idea was we're playing this great game and we're really intelligent, we're the West and we're civilized, and we're just kind of like moving pieces around a board, but it's so short-sighted and the people don't necessarily forget what we're all about. So when we got people like Samantha Power going out talking about the rule of law, and it's just so disingenuous. The people, we can read. look at MK Ultra. Wikipedia, people. This is just simple stuff. It's right there for everybody. The Regal Report. The Church Committee findings. The Pike Committee findings. You know, it's just all sitting out there, and it would just be nice if we could get to know our own insanity, because then we can maybe start to understand humanity a little bit better and how we respond in the modern era to danger and what we really are. Because if you don't have an understanding or a feel for that, and you think we're just this perfect place, and we just got to be the global superpower, you know, by happenstance, it's just, you know, the trials of Henry Kissinger. I mean, damn. I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be trying to persecute people because we decided that that we were going to go all in. And that's how we've had security. And when we get bombed in Boston, it's not just the fact that a bomb and human flesh together are just beyond harsh, but there's also a surprise of how is this happening here in a safe place like Boston. I've heard that so many times, in a peaceful place like Boston. Well, we've been doing a lot of ass kicking to get to live in a place that isn't subject to being invaded or attacked by other places. You keep people on their heels. The best defense is a good offense, and this is all documented. Namaste.